After 1,184 days, which would be 3 years and 3 months, Satoru Gojo has finally been unsealed. We are witnessing the return of the GOAT back into the Jujutsu Kaisen series. Since Gojo had been sealed all the way back during the Shibuya incident arc, a lot of things have happened, but for Akutami to push JJK into its final phase is one hell of a game changer. The return of Satoru Gojo signifies the nearing end of Jujutsu Kaisen. But before we discuss the latest chapter of JJK, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit that notification bell to stay updated with my latest uploads. This video will contain spoilers from the manga. Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 221 dropped an insane bombshell on us. To be fair, I did not expect it at all. This means everything changes between the battle against Kenjaku and Ryomen's Sukuna. However, Akutami decided to make it a bit more interesting, and that was to give some time for Gojo and the others to prepare for the final battle. So why don't we dissect this chapter a bit more and come up with as many theories as we can now that the GOAT is back. So before we go wild and uncover the true purpose of Satoru Gojo's return, let's first have a quick recap of what happened in the latest chapters of JJK. To start off, we were able to witness the death of Yorozu, who had taken Sumiki's body hostage. She was obsessed with Sukuna and wanted to be the only person by his side. She was completely crazy, but for Sukuna he understood that killing her would mean Megami's soul would sink deeper into the abyss, making him much weaker and would not be able to take back control over his body. But even before that, Sukuna would get into a bath to ensure that Megami doesn't resist at all. All these pointers show how strong Megami is. For example, when Yuji took on Sukuna head to head, Megami was the one holding back the cursed energy output that Sukuna attempted to unload on Yuji. Anywho, in the previous chapter it was revealed by Kenjaku that Master Tengen had 4 special barriers under his control, one in the center of the Imperial Palace, one located in the tombs of the Star Corridor, one in Yamakuni Mausoleum, and the colossal barrier dividing Japan into east and west is at the holy mountain of Hida, which is where they are currently based. We've all speculated a lot in the past how Sukuna's true origins stems from the Hida province in Japan, and we were correct, since the real Japanese folklore determines that Ryomen Sukuna was praised as some sort of deity in the Hida province. Kenjaku reveals how the Culling Games barrier was an even better barrier than Master Tengen's pure barrier, and how these Culling Games really don't have a game master. There was also a way to prevent all this from happening, and that was if Master Tengen had released all of the pure barriers built over 1000 years during the Shibuya incident arc, which would have rendered the Culling Games useless. However, that would have only allowed the cursed spirits to enter the real world nonchalantly and create an incredible amount of civilian casualties, so Master Tengen chose the option to limit the amount of civilian deaths across Japan. Kenjaku adds 2 more rules into the Culling Games, the first one being that no new player can enter the Culling Games, and the second one being the Culling Games end when all players die, except Sukuna and Kenjaku. So with Kenjaku now in control of Master Tengen, he needs to get rid of the dead weight, which would be the Culling Game players. This will allow Kenjaku to finally merge with Master Tengen, since a majority of his preparations has been complete. We even get to see the mummified Sukuna, which is another theory which we got correct. That was of course the Buddhist ritual of Soku Shinbutsu. This part right here will play a key role towards our theory later on. But with that said, we figure out Yuji can consume other cursed objects and continue to use his body like a vessel from the aftermath of what he went through with Sukuna, thus consuming his brothers to gain more strength. The chapter ends with a lot of them devising a plan to defeat Sukuna and Kenjaku. So after that lengthy recap, let's now dive head on into the major events which took place in chapter 221 of JJK. The chapter starts off with Yuji and Takaba preparing for Gojo to be unsealed. With the ability of Hana Kurusu, the idea of Gojo returning is much more closer than we thought. Anyways, Hana explains how time works within the prison realm. Either that Gojo being sealed for 19 days must have felt like a moment to him, or it must have felt like waiting 100 years. Therefore, Hana is sort of worried for Gojo's mental state. With all the preparations sorted for Gojo's unsealing, they all take cover whilst Hana from atop uses her cursed technique, Jacob's Ladder, on the back of the prison realm. With everything all in smoke after the blast, Yuji slowly approaches the box, but it's nowhere to be found. Hana tells them that if Gojo became evil due to his mental state inside of the prison realm, then her cursed technique may have just killed him, with a smug look on her face. everyone bewildered at the fact that the back of the prison realm just up and vanished. So here's where things take an interesting turn. We get switched back to the Hida province where both Sukuna and Kenjaku are. Kenjaku mentions how he put the prison realm 8,000 meters into a trench just in case Gojo ever returns. But in a blink of an eye, we witness the moment that we've waited almost forever for, and flying over Kenjaku would be a person who has made us stress for the past 1,184 days. The return of Satoru Gojo. Towering over Kenjaku regardless of being 8,000 meters deep, in just a split second he appeared right before him. Kenjaku with a troubled look tries to irritate Gojo, but the goat simply tells him to choose his words wisely since it will be his last. Just when Gojo was about to end the existence of Kenjaku, in comes the king of all curses to intervene. It is now Gojo vs Sukuna round 2. Gojo blocks Sukuna's intervention with ease and jokingly says that Megami has changed from a while ago. Sukuna tells Gojo that he'll kill him even if it is through Megami's body. But Gojo being Gojo replies that Sukuna simply ran away from Yuji and is now acting almighty. It's safe to say even after all that time stuck in the prison realm, Gojo is still the same. Uraume is angered at the fact that Gojo was taking the piss out of Sukuna, so they try and attack Gojo, but in a single punch, Gojo launches Uraume to the heavens. We've all seen how powerful Uraume is, and for Gojo to rock up and send them flying with one devastating punch reassures us why he was known as the strongest sorcerer of this current generation. Kenjaku intervenes and tells Sukuna that he must do something for him before he fights Gojo. Sukuna accepts Kenjaku's request, with Gojo taking the piss out of arguably one of the strongest characters in the series standing right before him. Gojo then offers that the final battle should take place on December 24th, to which Kenjaku replies, "How romantic," as this was the same date Gojo had killed Suguru Geto. It is currently November 19th in the manga, meaning the final battle will take place in just over a month's time. So what does Gojo's return mean in the world of JJK? I believe it means the beginning of the end for this illustrious series. The fact that we've got an almost perfected Sukuna, Kenjaku in the final steps of his merging ritual with Master Tengen, Yuji consuming his brothers to gain more power, and finally with Gojo's return, this certainly screams out endgame to me. We also have the other sorcerers gathered at the same place, even including Hajime Kashimo, who wants to simply fight Sukuna. What surprised me the most from this chapter was the discussion regarding Gojo's mental state in the prison realm, with some contemplating that Gojo could have lost his mind after waiting so long and could have gone berserk, but once he reappeared it was like he never left, mocking both Sukuna and Kenjaku right in their faces, and we've seen what both of them are capable of. Gojo basically cooked Kenjaku, Sukuna and Uraume in a matter of moments after being unsealed. So where does that scale Gojo in terms of strength compared to the likes of Kenjaku and Sukuna? It certainly puts him at the top of the pile. From our understanding, Sukuna is still yet to be at full strength since he only has 15 fingers to his name, but Kenjaku has no excuse. He tanked a literal black hole from Yuki, but he was in fear once Gojo was about to attack. It shows the levels between each of them. Gojo was always at the top, but it all depends on what Kenjaku and Sukuna have planned once the final battle takes place. So how would this hypothetical final battle uncover? If it is indeed the final battle, then the fact that it takes place on December 24th is poetic. Akutami definitely had this planned out for a while, but there are still so many questions we have about certain other characters, my main concern being Nobara. I'm sure that Akutami would still have something planned for her right before the final battle, if not then it is what it is. But I do feel like Nobara's return is imminent. I just don't know when or how. Akutami even mentioned how one of the three between Gojo, Yuji or Megami will die. So with the stars aligning, my bet is on Megami for the sole fact that he is now Sukuna's vessel. Anyways, this gives all of the sorcerers just over a month to prepare. You've got devastating characters like Hikari, Hana, Kashimo, Yuji, Maki and Yuta ready to pop off and under Gojo's wing. This could be the battle to ultimately put an end to the king of all curses, but either one of the three between Yuji, Gojo and Megami will certainly die in this final battle. However, there is a loophole in how all can survive. Going back to the mummified Sukuna, if he can take back his original body, then the final battle would consist of Yuji, Megami and Gojo taking on the king of all curses. Maybe that's why Akutami foreshadowed Sukuna's original body. With that said, it was fun to dissect a JJK chapter after so long. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be sure to put up a poll if you would like to see me cover Jujutsu Kaisen chapters weekly until the very end. But what did you guys make of this chapter? For me, it symbolizes the beginning of the end. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. As always, like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll see you all in the next one.